The summer is ticking by gradually. It is time for one of my favourite items here. It's going to be a Joe Fairs squad audit. It may look very different at the end of July. It may look even more different at the end of August. We're currently at the end of June, and we're going to have a good look at the ITFC squad here on Blue Monday and Ipswich Town podcast. When I worked in the office, Joe, when I first met David Diamond, they used to have like auditors come in, very unpopular people, extremely unpopular, fishing around everything. Are you ready to play the pantomime villain today? Welcome, Joe Fairs.
Well, I guess it's in previous years we would be quite unpopular as auditors. So get rid of him, get rid of him. We don't want him anymore. They can go. Where now it's more a sort of please stay rather than go.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So we're going to have a look. Joe and I are going to do two shows, one tonight and one on Tuesday, which will then set up fixture release, which is on Thursday. So fill the comments if you are watching here live with your views on goalkeepers. Yes, Rando123, you can always bribe us with a super chat about anything, but we will, spoiler alert, be mentioning Mr. Muric and his future. So, and Joe, we're going to try and round out the show. We'll go to some questions, but we'll try and forecast what we think. It'll be an interesting thing to look back on. We'll try and forecast what we think the keeper and the back line will be. Maybe not on round one, maybe on the first game after the transfer window. That may be a fun thing to look at. Joe, any new things you wanted to pick up and mention that have gone on since we last spoke, mate?
I guess Amari Hutchinson played for the England under-21s last night, started again as they beat Spain very impressively in the quarter-final there. So they now move on to the semi-final on Wednesday, which I think it's against Italy on Wednesday, who they haven't played. And yeah, he's having an excellent tournament, looked really, really good. Been playing on the left of the front three for England, which isn't a role we've seen him in a huge amount for us. But I think that's when he made his debut away at Southampton. I think he started on the left in that one. And he has done it a few times.
Scored.
Yeah, earlier this season, I think it was on the left with sort of Smodics and that's inside him. But yeah, so yeah, really, really good. But like I say, the only worry is he's been so good that 35 million release fee becomes sort of more in range, maybe for more teams when they're seeing him like that.
Do you buy that, Joe? Are we past an era where people watch a tournament and make a decision in the era of data and everybody, all these clubs will have known about Amari Hutchinson for 5-10 years already? Does a tournament make a difference?
I guess only in the matter of if you're wavering with regards to what would he look like in a team full of better players. Right. And you actually get a bit of evidence for what that could look like in a more possession dominant team at a higher level. So, or at a higher level, maybe not a higher level than Premier League. So it might be that it's just just turns that little bit into from a sort of 50-50 to a 60-40 to make the bid.
Yeah, it could just affirm it, couldn't it? But yeah, you would think.
Yeah, and it's the Netherlands they play on Wednesday, not Italy. So like the Euros for the senior team, the Netherlands in the semi-final. So hopefully another last-minute winner.
It can be the Ollie Watkins moment. Let's talk about Cameron Burgess when we get into the squad audit and the centre-backs. Do you want to mention the friendlies or anything?
Yeah, we've announced some. I think we've got one in Austria announced previously, but we've announced one in Aberdeen on a Friday night, which is
Are you going?
A fun place to get. No, it was one.
Is there an airport anywhere near?
There's an airport there, and flights are very expensive because you get all the offshore guys flying up there in and out. Okay. I think you fly direct from Norwich up there because obviously when Lowestoft shut effectively all the oil rigs, a lot of people went there from Aberdeen. But you're looking at very expensive flights to get up there. But like I say, I'm sure someone spoke about Aberdeen. It's not quite the end of the world, but you can definitely see it from there.
Oh, good. Yeah. When I was a touring musician, every tour would start with Inverness. So you'd get to Inverness and then, no option to take obviously lots of musical gear on an aeroplane on the budgets we had. Right.
And then
I went to
Allsair is the week
Aberdeen for
after
work
that.
once. Audit don't hate me. Here we go. Sorry, what were you saying, Joe?
Allsair has been announced the week after that as well. That might be a nicer trip down to sort of northern France.
Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm not crying, you are, Burgess, says Lewis. Yeah, I think a few of us were like that. We're very attached to these double promotion League One guys, but Joe will talk about that in just a jiffy. Joe, we'll get into the squad audit business, and we got some graphics to go up as well. I think we need to just peddle the narrative. There you go, Toffee Crisp, goalkeeper situation, because we were literally sat here trying to go back to think where this story started. And is this one area we've been so impressed with the recruitment and the management that haven't quite ever got right, and maybe fell apart, as Dave always says, that sometimes your best selections are the ones you just sort of happen upon, and they happened upon Flagship for a season, but otherwise it's not actually been great. Can you just tell the story of what, 5 years of not being entirely sure? Am I being completely unfair to Christian Walton in League One there? I probably am, aren't I?
Yeah, I think you are to Christian Walton at that stage, but yeah. So I guess the background
of forgetfulness, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the background is that when we sort of had to take over, our goalies at that time, I think with Thomas Holy and David Cornell, I don't think either of them were good enough to be first choice for what we wanted to be, which was a top
And they were
League One
signed, Joe,
side
from
initially.
Carlisle and Peterborough.
Gillingham and Northampton, maybe.
Gillingham, Northampton. Did Holy play for Carlisle? Am I imagining that?
I think he went. I mean, he might have gone there after us. Actually.
Oh, he did, right?
Or he'd been there before. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm pretty
and
sure
Cornell went to Peterborough. I'm going backwards. There you go. My memory doesn't go back far enough. Carry on.
Yeah. So then, in that summer, we signed Hladky for sort of 300,000, which is a lot of money for a League One side to spend on a keeper.
Salford, yeah.
Yes, from Salford. He just won the Golden Glove. And he came in and looked shaky as anything. Every sort of shot he saved was just palmed back in, set pieces, didn't know where to go. And Paul Cook pushed to sign Christian Walton, who he'd had with him at Wigan. I think he'd won the Golden Glove in League One as they won the title there previously. And we loaned from Brighton, came in, struggled a little bit at first. I think his debut let in 5, but then
the team was struggling, Joe. Weren't
they? Really found his feet. And in the January transfer window, we had that sort of stress where Brighton had elected to recall him, and they had a 7-day recall on him, and we wanted him, and we managed to thrash out a deal, and it was a really tough deal to do by all accounts because he didn't want to drop down to League One because he saw himself as a Championship goalie. So we got the deal done, came down to League One, and then the second season, again, he had a sort of sticky patch in that sort of December, January time. But then after that was just unbelievable. I think he kept, it was a club record of clean sheets. And in that, there was sort of penalties saved in it, saving a penalty away at Bolton, saving one away at Cambridge. And just had a brilliant season, won the Golden Glove again in League One that year. And then we're going into the Championship season. You think, okay, Christian Walton's the guy. He's your number one. So much to the point that when we found out he got injured on the eve of the season,
terrible news.
A lot of fans were saying, look, we need to go out and sign a loan keeper. Hladky, he's not good enough. We need to go get a loan to replace him.
That's not unreasonable.
Hladky comes in, does really well. Christian Walton plays for 10 minutes in the whole season, comes in. It might not even be that long. I think he might have come on in like injury time in the last day of the season against Huddersfield. And because his only league appearance for the season. And then I'm sure people can go back and see the videos from this time last year looking at the goalkeeper situation. It's just like, it looked a mess because Hladky was out of contract with no real desire, it seemed, for the club to get one done. Walton was out of contract.
Can I push you on that? Joe, can I push on that? Why was there no desire even just to keep him around, to give him a Premier League contract, Hladky? Why didn't that happen?
I don't know. You hear bits, and it seemed that they thought they'd made him a good enough offer, and the offer was made in sort of October, November time, and that offer didn't change from being a Championship goalkeeper who just come into the team and was doing well to a promotion-winning goalkeeper. So maybe it was 80, but the fact he turned us down.
Reece there in the chat should have given him what he wanted.
Maybe I'd have kept him, but I'd have probably kept him to be the number 2 ahead of Christian Walton. I'd have probably let Christian Walton go rather than Hladky. But I think if you signed Hladky, you knew he had the style of play that we wanted at the time. But I think he may have really struggled in the Premier League with regards to just that size of the set pieces, that side of the game. So we went out in the summer. We signed Aaron Muric for 8 million quid. He'd been the best goalkeeper in the Championship in 22-23, Team of the Year, Burnley playing out there. And they'd gone out and signed James Trafford for the best part of 20 million quid, put him straight into the team. James Trafford had struggled really through the Premier League season.
Burnley got the good end of that deal, didn't they?
Well, they did at first, but to the point where James Trafford was dropped and Aaron Muric came in for the last dozen or so games of the season and outperformed James Trafford. And the Burnley fans were saying, yeah, he'd been better, but we're going to lose him now because we've messed him about all season. He doesn't want to stay here. So we're going to be stuck with Trafford. Obviously, Trafford had an incredible season
for the ages last year, didn't he? God.
Like an incredible season. So you've got that there. But Muric, we'll go through it, but he ended up having his struggles. And to the point where on transfer deadline day in January, we went outside Alex Palmer just as like we need something here to just come in and play today. And he came in, played 13 games in a row, and then up until the last game of the season where he was then injured on the day before the game, and Christian Walton came in and played that last game of the season. So it's been... I think
Christian Walton had played a few times in between before Palmer played in the Premier League as well, hadn't he?
Yeah, he came in... I think Muric was dropped. I can't remember after which game it was, but he was dropped. And Walton came in, played 5 games. I think then Walton got injured. Muric came back in for the Southampton game, had a shocker. Then we had to sign Palmer. And now you look at the situation here. You've got Christian Walton is out of contract next season. Muric, Slicker, who signed a new contract back in October, but has never played for us and is now 22, had an awful debut for Scotland last week, played no senior football. So you've got Walter's out of contract this summer. Then you've got Palmer, Slicker and Muric, who have 3 years left on their deals. And if you look at it without knowing a huge amount about it, you think, oh, actually, well, that's good. You've got 2 good goalies, Muric and Palmer. Slicker, a young keeper to go there. But it's really, really interesting to see which way we go here, because Muric has, if you look at the numbers of crosses claimed, goals prevented, passing, all this stuff, Muric tops it by a fair bit. Points per game when he's in the team. But the other stat that he tops is direct errors leading to goals for the opposition. And it felt like the defence totally lost confidence in him, even though we had Darragh O'Shea in the defence who played for him previously at Burnley. So obviously knew him on that side, but it's just really, really difficult. But then you look at the age, 26, he's only just 26, I think. So he's still a really young keeper. And like I say, he put it all aside. I'd say he's probably our best keeper. But I also think that I don't see how we can continue with him just because of the sort of reaction he had there. So it's just where do you go from here? Like I'd like to say Alex Palmer came in and yeah, he did well, but he made massive mistake against Wolves, which he managed to claw back and get off the line. 2 or 3 times he passed the ball to the opposition. There's our record from set pieces went sort of downhill when Muric dropped out of the team compared to Walton or Palmer, who just didn't really come and claim anything in the boxes. Palmer had won the Golden Glove in the Championship the year before that. Muric had been the best keeper in the league the year before that. Christian Walton has won 2 Golden Gloves in League One. They're all good quality keepers, but are any of them good enough, or are any of them the right keeper? I think we can, like Rita said it there, Kieran Slicker needs to go out on loan. That's what he's got to do. And again, I put these guys on the screen as well. Henry Gray and Woody Williamson. Woody Williamson is 18, just about to turn 19. He'd had a decent loan spell at Chelmsford, National League South. Henry Gray had been at Chelmsford the year before in the National League South. I think he kept something like 8 clean sheets in 19 games there. He went to Braintree, who were in relegation trouble this year, kept 9 clean sheets in 20 games for them. Got their Young Player of the Year award, playing for New Zealand under-20s. And we know that sort of Kieran McKenna likes to have as big a squad as possible. So is Henry Gray one of the goalkeepers that you can put in the squad as your number 3 to have there? So you can save one, but then if you do that, you've got to get 2 of that 4 out. It's a real head scratcher what we do here. And there's also the guy we wanted to sign last summer, Carl Rushworth, who had been at Swansea previously. I think he was at Hull a bit last season, but didn't really have a great spell. They just got in the team, then got recalled. But
Hull spent a bit on a European goalkeeper as well, ahead of ahead of Rushworth. I think it was one of Mr. Charlie's projects there. So that didn't work. Sorry, carry on, Joe.
But do we go back in for Carl Rushworth? I know that's what we've done previously, and then that gives us even more of a mess to sort out in that position. But yeah, you look at it there. I say you've got 3 senior keepers that are all good keepers at this level,
and all according to your info, they're contracted for 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got Muric, who is it possible for him to come back and have a spell at Ipswich? I don't know if it even is with the crowd, because it has been really, really difficult for him with the crowd.
Even with a big gap for close season, people forget stuff, Joe.
I don't think that's going to happen with Muric. I think he will have his card marked at any error, but we know the level in the Championship is so much lower than that. But can you go there to try and get the guy with probably the highest ceiling out of all the goalkeepers there? Can you try and go for him to get back in the side? I don't even know if we're going to be able to. Like I said, my prediction would be he leaves. He goes, whether it's on loan initially from there, but who knows? Kieran Slicker, we see next on the list. He's got to go out on loan. And then Christian Walton, he dropped down to League One reluctantly, had a brilliant season there, and has played 8 games or 7 games since that point. He's going to want to go and play somewhere. He's not going to be happy to have another year sitting on the bench here. So he's probably the easiest one to get rid of. And then
I was going to say he's the easiest one to sell, and there's only 1 year on the contract as well, isn't there? Yeah,
then Alex Palmer. What do you do with him? So
I've got a couple of questions. We'll try and I want to try and lay it out in 3 possible scenarios, but there may be more than that. Welton to Plymouth says, Toffee Chris, that's not a bad shout. I think Tom Cleverley would do well at Plymouth actually there, and I think he's
Welton's on good money, and he earned really good money in League One to drop down.
I know, but you're at the point, Joe, where from our end you can do something you can make a deal on a nice contract with 1 year to go far easier than you can in terms of paying off a percentage of it and, sending him on his way, and he's effectively double bubble for a little while in some respects. But what I wanted to ask you, Joe, who was the best fit? Was it Walton League One or Cladkey Championship in terms of what the Professor Kieran McKenna wants from a goalkeeper? Because they both obviously performed in promotion-winning sides. And let's just play these scenarios. Is it scenario A, Alex Palmer is just the guy, and you just go with it, and whatever happens behind him happens? Which you would think if Palmer's the lead guy, then Muric leaves. I think that's scenario A. Scenario B is your maybe unrealistic, the rehabilitation of Muric. And then scenario C, I guess, is you literally have so many goalkeepers on the books, and people to pay off and loan out, etc., etc. Do they go in for someone else? What's your thoughts on both of those questions? Getting on the chat on that as well,
yeah. Please. I guess the only way you're going to be able to rehabilitate Muric is in an Ipswich Town shirt. Like, you can't send him out on loan, him do brilliantly there, and say, okay, he's going to come back in here in the Premier League for us, because you're going to have the same issues you've got there, because being a goalkeeper in the Premier League is so difficult. It's not easy in the Championship, but I think you could have him in goal in the Championship for us next year, and he'd be really good and be fine. But is there much of a muchness between him and Alex Palmer? I think he's probably a better goalkeeper than Alex Palmer, but the brain farts are probably more noticeable than the claiming crosses and
just play devil's advocate, Joe. The Palmer Golden Glove. I don't want to rain on his strawberries. You can put down to a Carlos Corberan, probably along with Steve Cooper, has been the best manager at drilling Championship defences. Whereas the Muric performance was in a team under Vincent Kompany, that played maybe in a more similar way to we're going to. So maybe, and if you then factor in Christian Walton, he just quickly answer that question as well, Joe. What's your peak Ipswich goalkeeper under McKenna? Is it Walton League One or Cladkey in the Championship? For me, I think it's actually Cladkey, just for the pure story of it.
Yeah, I think it's Cladkey, because I just love. I just saw him do stuff I've never seen a keeper do for us here, and the way he played. Yeah. He just added something that I didn't expect an Ipswich goalkeeper to ever be able to add. So I'd love to see someone like that there.
Yeah.
Who is that? And can you sign another keeper?
Probably not without. And also, Joe, you're quite good at tracking the the number of players in the squad and what's going on as well. You're literally taking up so many squad places with keepers at that point that it gets ludicrous, doesn't it?
Yeah, you want it to be 2 plus a young keeper. That's the ideal. That's what we did last time. That's why we signed Slicker last time, so we could have him as a underage keeper effectively for the third spot. So I'd imagine that's what they want to do. I think Henry Gray is more than good enough to have a year doing that now, and then we see where we are with that. But yeah, so it's going to be, if you think we're not going to sign a goalkeeper, it's going to be, I guess the simplest solution is Palmer number 1, Walton number 2, Henry Gray number 3, Slicker out on loan, Murich.
That's the line of least resistance. If you think, Joe, this transfer window is going to be complex and there's big things when we get on Tuesday night into central midfield, that there is an argument that you just be pragmatic. And the pragmatic thing to do is Palmer knows the league very well. He ended last season. Keep him in there, stick Slicker on the bench, get what you can for Murich and concentrate on midfield. That feels pragmatic. But I know, Joe, a lot of these conversations, maybe it's a bit presumptuous, are shaped by, okay, what next then? Because like you just said, well, are you then hiring a keeper, give him a big promotion bonus and bomb him out and someone else comes in the Premier League and got Bedham in again? I know you can't have Premier League players, a Premier League team in the Championship, and it doesn't work like that.
But I just think for Murich, who, out of Kieran McKenna or Rene Gilmartin, the goalkeeper coach, is anyone going to go in there to bat for him so heavily that he's going to get that chance as a number 1 here?
Well, it would have to be McKenna, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, is Gilmartin going to go in and sit McKenna down and say, you've got to give him another chance, but really, really go to bat for him? I don't feel like his character or what we've seen from him is somebody who is going to have people on his side going into bat for him to give him that extra chance. So if, like I say, if it's the end of the transfer window with Palmer 1, Walton 2, I don't think anyone's going to have too many complaints.
Trevor's agreeing with the pragmatic solution there in the chat there, goalkeeper. Less of a priority at the moment. John, Murich on loan would be better from a PSR perspective. We would inevitably trigger a loss if we sold him. There are those things to think about again, although I am hoping PSR is going to be solved by the one other maximum, hopefully big sale that's coming out. Lewis, who's the best keeper with their feet? Probably Murich, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. He's the best, but he's probably the riskiest as well.
Yeah.
So Walton is okay with his feet, but I think when you saw Walton replace Hladky replace Walton, you saw what a keeper with their feet can do. Murich can be that sort of keeper. Palmer is fine, but I think anything mid-range he struggles with. So it's a difficult one.
But then again, it's the Championship rather than the Premier League. It's absolutely fascinating, and there's a reason we're fans, and there's lots of highly paid people in positions at the club who are going to make this very, very difficult decision. We are going to talk about defence in just a jiffy. Keep your brilliant views coming in the comments. Here is a quick message from our sponsors.
Blue Monday is brought to you in partnership with Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for property and business law. Whether you're buying a home, starting a business, or just need legal guidance, our dedicated team has got you covered. Trust our award-winning customer service team to handle your legal matters with care and expertise. Find out more at atwells.com or visit us at our offices in Ipswich, Colchester, London, and our new location in Woodbridge.
Right, this is generally not our style, Joe. We don't normally beg and ask you wonderful listeners to do stuff, but we're going to right now because there's been a bit of a hosting switch around with our podcast host, and the Spotify page has been reset because of this hosting issue, which means all of our lovely data we've built up over the many years, it's not the most important thing in the world, I know, has vanished. So we would love you, if you have already given us a 5-star review on Spotify and said, yeah, Blue Monday's great. Ben's my favorite. I listen every week. You know, and most of the comments are kind of like that, Joe, with a 5-star review, aren't they? You're probably going to have to go in and do that again. So if you don't mind and you've got 2 seconds, sorry if you've done it before. We really appreciate it. It's not our fault. We've been sold down the river a little bit with this hosting issue. If you can head back over to Spotify, 5-star review. That really, really helps us when people are searching for not even Ipswich stuff, even against the teams we play, to get us to the biggest number of listeners possible. And again, just a quick plug, we'll be back on Tuesday night talking about the guys that are going to be playing in front of our back four. Let's talk centre backs, Joe, which means you can give your farewell to one of the heroes, one of the legends of the double promotion, Cameron Burgess. Just give me your thoughts on Burgess leaving the centre-back position, looking a lot like that over past Joe.
Yeah, it's a real shame, isn't it? Because when you look at the sort of the depth there, if we could have kept what we had last year with O'Shea and Wolfenden on the right and Greaves and Burgess on the left, would have been in such a fantastic position. But it's a really... I can totally understand why he's left, because he wants first team football. But when you see where he's ended up at Swansea, no disrespect to Swansea, they were a good side, good Premier League history recently, but
Harry Darling just left, so the wages were freed up for him.
Yeah, the three-year deal. It's
nice.
A World Cup year. He's got to play. He's got to play this year. That's the biggest thing. He's going to get one shot at the World Cup. But when you see the deal Luke Wolfenden signed in, was it sort of like December, January time, where he just signed a 2-year extension to what he had? It does feel like maybe we could have got something like that done with Cameron Burgess, just that extra 2 years. But by the time, whether it's left too late or a good enough offer wasn't made, but it does feel like either the problem was last summer we wanted to see how he adapted to the Premier League, and then we started Greaves and he probably hadn't played enough by that Christmas time. But yeah, I'd have loved to have got that done. Just another couple of years on him there as an experienced guy to help Jacob Greaves along.
We looked more secure when he was in the end, didn't we?
Yeah, he's an excellent player. Swansea got themselves a great signing, and like I say, I think it's just tough when you see he's linked with Girona and Valencia and Rangers. Like, nice if he'd gone to a nice foreign club so I could get myself a Cameron Burgess shirt to celebrate a promotion hero. But
let's go to a foreign club.
Yeah, I'm not going to get myself a Cameron Burgess Swansea shirt to be wearing to the gym and bits like that. So yeah, a shame for him, but best of luck to him. Fantastic player. And like I say, the journey he came on from how poor he looked for us when he first signed. Like I say, you look at that Barrow game away.
How much did we sign him for, Joe?
I think it was about 750,000. So it was it was a lot of money to buy a player from Accrington Stanley when you're a League One club.
Between League One clubs,
especially a player like he was, because he was just a stopper, really. He was a sort of head on a sticker at times. Every time he played, I remember that Bolton game where we lost 5-2, which I spoke about earlier, Christian Walton's debut. He was just getting turned on the halfway down and left for dead by these sort of bang average League One attackers. And it's like, oh my God, what have we got here with him?
I'm going to slag off John Coleman here, but maybe Kieran McKenna unlocked a little bit more than he was up to. So don't get me wrong. You said it very well. You're kind of grudgingly full of praise for the way Accrington did it, and to be halfway up League One, with their structure. But yeah, he was. There was a lot more under the bonnet, wasn't there?
Yeah, and he's been superb, and I doubt he even thought we could get to the levels he's got to, and he's now got to make the most of it, keep playing, get to that World Cup, hopefully have a great World Cup for Australia, and go from there.
Can I just throw this out there? But I could be completely wrong. Swansea took out, who was the guy managing us? Luke Williams, and Alan Sheehan took the last run of the season, and they performed well. And they just dropped, I think the transfer market said 6 million euros on another winger, and Burgess has arrived as well. And they brought in a few foreign players. And if my theory about the middle order of the Championship just completely disappearing over the last few seasons, then there's no reason that if a few other clubs don't put it together and Swansea improve a little bit, that they won't be in the top 10 with Cameron Burgess.
No, yeah. If they carry on as they have, like I say, they spent 6 million on a couple of Swedish under-21 internationals. Luka Modric has become part of the ownership team, and I know you sort of laugh at that, but
he's there on the grass every week, Joe.
Well, on the EADT article about it, Stuart Watson did. I'm sure he said that Modric had been on the phone to prospective new signings, including Burgess, to try and help get them over the line. So he's really playing a part in it. Maybe sort of got his Leon Britton pajamas to sort of sleep in there as a little midfield ball player. But a great signing for them. But there's some strength in this championship next year, isn't it?
And we just these players. It's going to happen every time one leaves, isn't it, Joe? Where we're going to be like these guys became iconic players over just that. Anyone who went from coast to coast on that two-year period is
especially the starters as well, isn't it? That sort of, we know what the 11 starters effectively were in that team, don't we? And he was definitely one of them.
He very much was. Anyway, we love Cameron Burgess, and I don't think that needs too much more explanation. Right, talk to me then about centre backs. I mean, is the starting point really? Do we manage to keep hold of Dara O'Shea? Because it would be jolly useful if the guys in the comments who are saying, okay, do the pragmatic thing with the keeper, spend time and energy and money on the central midfield, be lovely to just keep Greaves and O'Shea and Wolfenden as 3 for 2 spots, yeah?
Yeah, if you can keep them, it's like Greaves and O'Shea would be an unbelievable centre-back pairing in the Championship, isn't it? When you look at the size of them, the speed of them, the physicality and quality before you even get onto that side of it. They're maybe not Greaves quite yet, but they're 2 players for me that are going to play the majority of their careers in the Premier League. I think that we're sort of safe to say that by the time they're both 30, they'll be players with multiple Premier League seasons under their belt, and hopefully even with us, they've both got 4 years left on their contracts after signing big 5-year deals there. And I say if you can keep them, then we've got no problems in the centre half role. Luke Wolfenden is a brilliant backup if he ever needs to come in for O'Shea. And it's just what you do on that left side of the role. Do you replace Burgess, or do you just say, well, Wolfenden can cover both sides and we'll get one in, we'll get one extra in there. I've got Elkin Baggott on the screen there. He's had another loan spell in League One last year. I think he only had a lot of injuries, but managed to start 15 games for Blackpool. Steve Bruce gave him a lot of credit on that, and that's obviously
it's a good manager to play for.
Yeah, a good sort of centre back. Yeah. So is he seen as ready to play that backup role for that left-sided Greaves? In the fact that maybe if there was a long-term injury for Greaves, you'd probably make do with Wolfenden and O'Shea at the back and have Baggott as the 4th man, rather than just where previously this year we've had a right-sided backup and a left-sided backup, and if O'Shea's not playing, Wolfenden's going to play there, or if O'Shea's at right back, Wolfenden's going to play there, and if Greaves isn't playing, Burgess is going to play, or vice versa. Do you just actually get another player for your squad so you can have another option somewhere along the line that way by having Wolfenden as a backup, as the number 3, regardless of which side, and Baggott as the number 4? I don't know. Do you look for someone on loan, maybe just a young player on there? Because I think it's going to be very difficult to sign a left-sided centre back.
Rare as hen's teeth, aren't they? Yeah, very, very much so. What is the threat level in terms of O'Shea then? What do you think it would take? I mean, it's very encouraging to see that the contract's till 2029. So as much as it would be a net negative, whatever the transfer fee is, you think the transfer fee would have to be pretty big to get O'Shea out? Yeah,
you'd say so. He must have a clause. They all seem to have a clause at the moment, don't they? So you assume he's one that's got one. But if he does, we signed him. I think he was one that was 12 million, I think he was. So you've got to be looking at least 18, 20, that sort of range to sign him. And what I don't know. I think I mentioned this on a pod the other week, but you look at the Premier League now, and you've got the sort of big 8 teams, or big sort of 6 teams as it was, and probably Aston Villa is Newcastle as an 8 in there. Then you've probably got maybe Brighton in 9th, and then it's sort of like that sliding scale, probably between Crystal Palace, maybe 10th, sort of down towards, and not just where they finish in the league, but you sort of Brentford and Wolves and Fulham, sort of the lower end of that with regards to where you go. And I think for us to lose players, I think they need to be jumping that middle phase, if that makes sense. They need to be jumping from not from us to Brentford or us to Wolves. I think they need to be going from us to Brighton or Newcastle or Villa, that sort of one above it, because otherwise there's not really enough value for us to sell it to them and for them to buy it from us.
For O'Shea, Joe, I don't think. I don't think one of the big eight would take him.
Yeah, no. Well, not big eight. Maybe you could maybe include Brighton and maybe Crystal Palace and maybe one over there. But I don't see Bournemouth or Brentford or Wolves paying 20 million to get a centre back out of Ipswich who's been relegated 3 times in 3 Premier League seasons now. And it's not. I know that's not just down to him, those relegations, but it does just seem he needs to have been good enough to have that next level of club to want to sign him, to pay the sort of fees that it's going to take to get him away from us.
How do you see things panning out for your old favourite Wolfenden? Then what do you think his involvement's going to be? Because McKenna did rotate at centre back. We didn't trust him at first, and then when we realised he knew exactly what he was doing, it's like, okay, change the centre backs, fine, do whatever you like, mate.
Yeah, well, a lot of times that's because Darrow O'Shea was playing out at right back, wasn't it? So you see O'Shea, he played 35 games there, and I think we signed him after the Man City game. So he missed
I was meaning more specifically, Joe, in the Championship. He'd happily play two on a Saturday, different on a Tuesday, and then change them back on a Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be too many occasions for that. Someone like O'Shea, I think he's got that ability to get through it. I guess when you get to that Christmas period, you've got 4 games in 10 days and bits like that. You might see a bit there, or maybe for games against really some weaker teams, because there will be some now that, not that you take them easy, but if you're Saturday, Tuesday, if you've got a home game on a Tuesday against someone that you're not going to be doing a lot of defending in, maybe you can move it there. But O'Shea, again, might play a few games at right back, and that opens the door for Wolfenden. But I think Wolfenden is still going to be an important player for us, and it's just it's just what we do with that fourth role in the centre back. I personally, if I was to have what do I think is going to happen? I'd guess Baggett would probably go out and loan again to try and get a full season somewhere, and then we try and maybe loan in someone, or if you can sign someone. I don't know what the sort of profile, that tall left-footed guy, maybe someone from the continent who's you can come in and have a year to settle here, and then see how they get on and move them up from that way, coming in not needing to play week in, week out at the very highest level.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, keep your comments coming in. We are going to move to fullbacks. Joe, do you want to start me with right backs, where you've got Harry Clark?
Let's start with left backs, Ben, because I think that's going to be an easier one to start with. Because
go ahead.
Because we can just say Leif Davis, I don't think he's going to go. I know there was some interest from Bournemouth, but I think with the Liam Delap transfer, it sounds as though from the powers that be at Ipswich, they want to make sure they get top fees for anyone else. You don't want to sort of be seen as a club that you can get a good deal from, because the
mug off
was a good deal, but that was just so if Leif Davis, when he signed his new contract earlier this season, there'll be a clause in there that says he can leave if we get relegated and someone pays X for him. Well, if someone pays, the only way he's going to leave is if somebody pays X for him. There isn't going to be.
When did he last sign anything?
It was at the start of the season. It was during this season.
Oh, so his stock would have been massively high when he signed it. So you'd think the release clause will be commensurate with.
So if it's 25 million, that sounds about realistic. Well, if someone's offering us 15, that's not even a room to open negotiation. That is get to 25 and then you can talk to him. Otherwise, don't bother ringing us. It's that sort of deal. We know Connor Townsend's an excellent deputy. Somto Boniface is an underage player who looked like he was really pushing on towards the end of last season. So that left-back situation for me is just done and dusted. Leif Davis is going to get another 4,842 assists in the league this year. Connor Townsend will come in and play some games if he needs to, and hopefully Somto Boniface gets some minutes. And then
that's the most sure you've been about any of these segments, Joe.
Yeah, and
famous last words. Davis out.
I don't think we get any more surer as we go forward in the team, which we're doing on Tuesday with a midfield and attack. But right back is a problem position for us, I'd say again.
Yeah, there you go. Continue, mate. I'm listening.
Yeah, well, we've got Harry Clark, Ben Johnson, Axel Tuanzebe noted there. Well, Ben Johnson didn't play for us at right back, barely at all. I think he played against West Ham, really struggled at the start of the season. I think he played against Leicester at home and did well there. But generally, when we saw him other than that, was in the Wes Burns right-hand side role.
Often off the bench as well.
Yeah, and in the tougher away games, we started there to maybe just give us that little bit extra defensively as a effectively a right wing back as opposed to
Right,
a right winger there. I don't see many games this year where we are going to need anyone in that role like that. So it's a case of, do we try to play next year in the way we'll need to in the Premier League, i.e. with an Axel Tuanzebe at right back, a really, really secure right back, because you go into that 3-2-5 formation and you're secure? Or do you just think, actually, we can play Ben Johnson there, we can get up and down the pitch from there, and we're still going to be okay? It's that worry. Or is Ben Johnson surplus to requirements, maybe even?
Yeah, but isn't he then? So what's the contract say? 2028. And in terms of him being a bit of a white elephant, the sort of conceived wisdom is that when a player signs on a free, they get a little bit of an extra tickle on their salary, and it might be harder to shift as a consequence, right? Because he's not going to go back to the Premier League, is he, Johnson? And then if he's well paid, been signed in the Premier League, who's going to take him in the Championship? Because we'll want a fee then as well, won't we?
Well, Fulham have been linked with him, I think, at one stage. I don't know whether that sort of agent talk, but if you could get 5 million plus for a player that doesn't really fit with the way you play, you'd probably take it. And I think Ben Johnson's got some good quality. Like I say, I thought away at Chelsea, he scored, got the assist, was fantastic in that game.
Fulham got any keepers?
Front to back there. They've probably got a few, haven't they? Everyone seems
Can we
to
do a deal there?
But yeah, it's just a very, very strange fit to how we play, how that role works for us. And Harry Clark, he has struggled with injuries for the last 2 seasons. He sort of battled through Achilles injuries in the Championship season. Had some good games, had some tough times there, but that, in a little way, that's because the way we play leaves that right back exposed. But then we see what Axel Tuanzebe can do as an exposed right back, and you realise he's just very, very good defensively, Premier League quality defensively.
Can I don't want to be negative. In my brain, Tuanzebe, I just think he's going to be elsewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, isn't it? Because he's...
it's just a hunch, Joe.
Yeah, because he was obviously linked with Trabzonspor last week, and you think, is that a good move to go to a team that finished 7th in the Turkish top flight last year, and with how sort of up and down situations are there over there? I think they had 4 managers last season or something along those lines. So you just think it's that sort of environment, and obviously Kieran McKenna has been fantastic for him. If he goes to if he signs for a Premier League team now, is he going to go there as a starter, or is he going to go there as a player to come into the squad?
Recently promoted, one of the 3 that just went up, maybe he'd be a starter, wouldn't he? That might be the only way, I guess.
Yeah, difficult to know, isn't it? But I don't know. I just think the situation he's got here is as good as he's going to get, and that's the whole package. Not money, not time of contract, but just actually being here, knowing he's very important to the way we play, knowing the manager obviously knows him and has helped manage his body through the season. It's only really been that freak injury he had last year, but maybe without that freak injury, he'd be sort of long gone already because he'd have been so good. So maybe that could be something that helps us actually get the deal done. But something we need some clarity on soon, you'd imagine.
And he's kind of got to go, because I guess they're going to want to sign him for at least 2 years with an option and probably 3 years, which means at his point as a 27-year-old, he's kind of locking himself down to some of the best years of his career at Ipswich then, isn't it? So it's a big call in terms of the agent and the contract, isn't it?
Yeah, it also means though that if things go how we want them to go this year and we get promoted, that's probably his easiest route to being a Premier League starter, isn't it? Coming up with us and staying in the team. But,
starter, yeah. Player, no. But yeah, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, and then obviously Harry Clark, who, like I say, had that spell in there, but this season he was injured for a lot of the season, coming back from his Achilles surgery. He then sort of struggled in the Premier League, really. I think sort of starting with his debut at Brentford. I think that was probably his worst game. I think he did okay other than that, but went out on loan. And this is when we talk about the difference between the division. Sheffield United, who got a 92-point season. At that time, Harry Clark was probably behind Axel Tuanzebe, Darren O'Shea, probably even Ben Johnson, and was probably like a 4th choice right back. And he drops down to Sheffield United and starts every game for them, gets injured, comes back, starts one more game, gets injured in that game, and then he has an operation and is out for the season. And so, but he's one that you just can't rely on that fitness, can you? So I think my view, like I say, my view would probably be, if you can sign Tuanzebe, you sign Tuanzebe, and if not,
of course, yeah.
You probably need to
assume we're not going to and work backwards from there.
Well, then you need to sign someone, because like Harry Clark, I know some people saying he's not good enough. Some people think he is good enough. I'm in the camp where I do really like watching him. I think he's a really good player, but he's not. He hasn't been able to string the games together. Whether that's either because he's playing through an injury and the club knows he is and he's having to manage it, or it's because he's having operations or he's getting injured. So it's a really difficult one with him. Like I said, but you say Alfie Gilchrist is available.
That's who Harry Clark replaced.
Harry Clark replaced.
United.
Harry Clark was seen as better than him and replaced him. So
exactly.
This is a really, really difficult role to fill, this hybrid right back, right centre back. But you could go down a different role and have Darrow O'Shea, Luke Wolfton, and Jacob Greaves as your back three, and try and find some backups for those and play O'Shea in this right back role, because he played that role as well. Maybe not quite as well as Axel Tuanzebe, but there wasn't a huge amount in it.
And again, we're at the pragmatic versus the ideal, isn't it? When the ideal is you sign somebody, and the pragmatic is it would be a bit frustrating if you manage to keep O'Shea, and then we obviously saw it with Luke Chambers, that if you're in that way versatile, you get farmed out onto the right-hand side when your best positions as a centre-back. Just on Harry Clark, Joe, I think some of this is quite difficult to judge because everything happened so fast with the double promotion. And to quote the great Marcus Stewart, the team that starts the season is never the team that finishes the season. And there was a big sense that even though Harry Clark took us up from League One, that during the Championship, the plan from McKenna was that Harry Clark wasn't his guy. You know, we had Brandon Williams in there, and then Tuanzebe came, and that's certainly a position where we came up with Harry Clark. And, you know, last time we were in the Championship and we finished second, he kind of wasn't seen as the guy by McKenna, which makes me think he probably won't be again. Is that fair?
Probably. I think, but I guess the thing is, though, things changed, though, because when we came up, we signed Brandon Williams to replace him, who was like a bog standard up and down the pitch right back, and Axel Tuanzebe was probably signed more to replace Luke Wolfton as a centre back. Struggled when he played centre back, and then we ended up going from Brandon Williams, your fullback, to a Axel Tuanzebe, your hybrid right-sided centre back, right back, and that changed the shape we played in. So I guess these things are always changing. That you end up, what the plan can be and what it ends up being is different, and that might help Harry Clark, that might hurt Harry Clark. But I think it's just more, my biggest concern at the moment would be durability. Like, can he play those games? And if not, and I think I think you've got to be very, very sort of blue tinted, sort of not realistic to say, yeah, he can go and play you 40 games next season, because he's not done it so far. And Axel Tuanzebe, like in the Championship season, he started like 12 of the last 13 games.
More than you think. Yeah.
A lot more than you think, yeah.
It's just as you're talking, mate, Brandon Williams, what a waste. What a player that guy could and should have. I mean, maybe he'll get it right, but not quite putting the whole picture together. Guys, in the comments, please, and you can say to be a player to be determined if it's someone who we haven't signed yet. Give me, I don't know what round it will be, like round 7 or something after the transfer window's closed in September. Give us your goalkeeper and back four that you think will be starting the first game after the transfer window closed. I guess it'll be like September the 1st, and it'll be round 6, and we'll be playing Preston at home or what have you. Let us know those in the comments. Rich is in the background. He'll put them up on the screen. So I will go first, Joe. I'm trying not to be influenced by the ones that come up on the screen. I think it'll be the pragmatic solution in goal. So I'll go for Palmer to be my goalkeeper. I will go for O'Shea to be sold, but Davis to stay. So I'll go for Davis, Greaves, TBC, right centre back. And who the hell's going to be the right back? I'll go for Johnson. What are you thinking, matey?
I'm going to be confident and say Palmer, Tuanzebe, O'Shea, Greaves, Davis. And that defence would be ludicrous.
That's the most Joe Fairs answer in the world. What's the absolute best case scenario?
Could you imagine that defence in this league? If when you have a free at the back and you're free there as Tuanzebe, O'Shea,
I will bow to your
Greaves.
superior knowledge on many things, mate. But surely that's too good to be true, isn't it? There it is down there.
Well, is it? I guess Tuanzebe is the one that we don't know about, but I think I don't see.
But there's got to be
Davis
one more big sale, Joe, and it's not going to be Clark or Philogene.
My view for the big sale
maybe it might be Hutchinson.
Is Hutchinson? I think it would be Hutchinson if anyone goes, because I think he's the one. When I'm talking about those level of clubs, I think he's the one that can just jump that level could get a Brighton or a Crystal Palace, someone like that in for him, rather than a Brentford, Wolves, that sort of side.
There you go. Right, we have got 8 more minutes. Thank you for all of your choices in there. If you have got any questions, please do fire them in right now, and we'll answer some questions to round out the pod. Oh no, we have got some already. Let's dive straight in then, Joe. Andrew, will selling Leif Davis lead to a change in tactics, or will we try to replace him? Before you go, I think it would lead to a change in tactics. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Leif Davis gives you is fairly unique in the game, and I think you're more likely to go into the one where you, especially when you see some of the links we've had, like Josh Brownhill, you got Jack Taylor here. You probably end up with one of your fullbacks inverting into the midfield, and then one of your midfielders moving up to that forward line, rather than Davis being a defender and a forward. You probably end up with, I don't know, some form of, maybe even like Ben Johnson could be one that moves right back into right midfield, and then right back into central midfield with Sam Morsey, say, and and his central midfielder partner moves forward, and it splits out that way. I think that'd be more likely.
Alcatraz GH, any news on new signings? I'll make that less broad, Joe, and say, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Are we waiting for player number 2, who's going to be sold for 8 digits, to go out before there's players coming in?
I don't think so. I just don't think we've hit the pinch points in the market so far have been the start of the Club World Cup.
Love it.
So that's where the Liam Delap deal got done, because there's going to be another PSR pinch point coming up on the 30th of June, where there'll be a few deals going through that day just because they need to get done for that day. And then at that point, I guess it's just, you're then just into normal business.
How would that affect us, the PSR one? I don't see us being involved in that, would we, Joe?
Well, I don't know how secure the link is, but somebody put that Sean Longstaff has potentially coming to Ipswich. Well, if that's a Newcastle Academy player wanting to sell, they'll be no doubt wanting to bank that 10 million.
Yeah, and then they want one of our players in return as well, won't they?
In this window rather than next window, or if somebody does want Amari Hutchinson or Darragh O'Shea or Leif Davis,
fair point,
and a deal needs to get done that way, it might go that way. I don't know.
No, I can buy that if Hutchinson's in the that's a fair comment. Yeah. If Hutchinson's in the picture, then it could be, couldn't it? Toffee Crisp, who do you think we will target in central midfield? Is the $64,000? Well, to be honest, Joe, it's not the $64,000 question. It's probably the £10 million question, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we've had links so far. Flynn Downs, sort of just from the January one. I don't know. There, Hayden Hackney was somewhere, but I think. But the problem is, I can't remember if these are linked from genuine people or people on Twitter purported to be in the know.
Eggs on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, Sean Longstaff in that same bracket. I think
how old is Sean Longstaff, Joe?
28, maybe.
Oh, perfect.
He's played a huge amount of games in the Premier League. Josh Brownhill was linked to Alan Nixon, who's scored more goals for Burnley than they conceded last season from central midfield, which is incredible. Another player I noticed yesterday, Tyler Morton. I thought he was brilliant for England under-21s last night, and he's someone he's had a really good loan spell at Blackburn and Hull, and this season he's not played at all. He's been at Liverpool all season and just not played at all. So
pay through the nose when it's Liverpool, Joe, don't you?
Yeah, but I think someone was talking about him being available for sort of in the 8 million range. And it's like, well, actually, he could be one of those ones that comes with you. And Jens Kujist is another one that we've been linked with. I know he's been Napoli are trying to sort of shop him around to try and get something for him, but it's really, really difficult for them because if he doesn't want to go there, it's going to be quite difficult. So maybe he's one that comes back to us. But yeah, there's some real talent.
Colin, will we double Norwich? I think Norwich are having quite a good summer, Joe, and it's annoying me a little bit. I think Manning's a really good hire. I think Darlin's a good signing. I think the guy they got from Man City. One thing I'll say about Norwich and Manning is it normally takes him 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months for that pattern of play to build in. I've seen at previous clubs of his. So I would fancy us if we get them maybe away from home in August, September, possibly. But yeah, I think they're having quite a good summer, Joe. I know they're going to sell Sargent and/or Sainz, Nunez, etc. But yeah, I think it'd be nice to play them early as possible. I think might be our best hope of removing the hoodoo straight away.
Yeah, the only other thing with Liam Manning as well, he seems to be quite good at getting results against teams that are a lot better than his teams. He manages to set them up to get results against teams that are a lot better, and we are a lot better than Norwich. So hopefully we will. Hopefully he won't be able to set us up to beat them.
I literally just thought about Derby week again, and I was like, oh, really? Can I not just go missing for that?
We'll be winning the league anyway, so don't worry.
And losing twice to them. Streaky, assuming we keep all our current squad, do we really need any new signings? Well, no, but I think the financial imperative is that's not going to happen, is it, Joe, in terms of keeping everybody?
Well, come back on Tuesday, and when you look at the central midfield situation, you might think we probably do need some new signings for that because the squad we don't have enough options there. Like I said, the only difference is this year we've got 5 loan spots available, so I'd imagine we'll be utilising at least 2 or 3 of them with some real high quality players. Like any Premier League team who's got a player they want out, I'd imagine we are probably destination number 1 they want them to go to.
Norman, could you see us going in for Williams again? He's without a club. Is he okay? Brandon, I don't think he needs a football signing at the moment. I think he just needs a cuddle, doesn't he? Bless him.
Yeah, I think in the famous words of George Bush, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me once, you won't get fooled again.
We don't get fooled again. No, I wish him well because I always remember one of my favourite things we've done is a Blue Monday live at the stadium on the day we beat, was it like 3-2 or 4-2 against Preston or something? And I did a round robin in the room, man of the match that day. Everyone had their hand up for Brandon Williams. He was incredible, wasn't he? And I was like, oh, we could have ourselves a hell of a player here. And but we've been down this road before.
He was excellent for us, but we signed him on a season-long loan, and from November onwards, he was a waste of space. And I know. Do
you remember Watford when did he come on and then get subbed off again, or get subbed at half time?
I think he just started, went off at half time, but I just, like I say, he's obviously got his issues, but. Like, I wouldn't touch him for barge pole, personally.
No, bless him. There's more important things for him to sort out probably than a football contract, like I said. Guys, thank you so much for joining us as the close season content rolls on. Joe and I will be back with a less certain look at central midfield and a quite exciting look at the 3 off the front and striker on Tuesday. We'd love you to join us. Let us know your, what would that be, Joe? Your front 6 for the team. And hopefully we can piece them all together and make some spurious predictions that will be completely wrong about the look of the team at the start of the season. And then I don't know who's going to be doing it. It'll probably be Rich and Seb if it's a Thursday show. But we will be reacting to the fixture drop on Thursday as well. Joe, last word from you, mate.
Yeah, come back Tuesday, and then we'll see how we can talk through that central midfield situation and try and work out where we fit that glut of attackers into that 3 behind the striker.
Maybe we just play some of them in central midfield, just stick them all in Aussie Ardila style. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And unless there's significant news tomorrow, we will see you on Tuesday night, looking at the front end of the pitch.